listening to the Savvy Musician Show with Leah McHenry, and this is your secret weapon for success in the new music industry.
Welcome once again to the Savvy Musician Show podcast. This is CJ Ortiz, and I am the mindset and branding coach here at the Savvy Musician Academy, joined once again by her eminence, my favorite, Queen of the Realm, Leah. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you. How are you?
Wonderful. You mind if I call you Queen of the Realm?
Sure.
People may be listening to you and maybe they don't even know. They just got hooked onto the podcast and they don't even listen to the music or know the culture of your particular musical genre and don't know about Celtic fantasy metal, Leah, and that you do represent that Queen of the Realm archetype out there. But it makes for great banter for me as a podcast host to be able to call you cool stuff. Well, again, always a pleasure to be with you, and good things are happening. I know on your end, you've been super busy lately with your upcoming album. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, she is practicing what she preaches, and she's in that phase of getting things ready for yet another album release. You want to give them just a quick note about that?
Yeah, so I've been really busy, and I thank God so much for my staff here at Savvy Musician Academy because they really keep this whole ship running and do an excellent job at serving everyone so that I can also go and keep doing what I do. You know, one of the things we figured out in the Savvy Musician Academy business is that one of the most important things in figuring out where I can spend my time, where's the most valuable place I can spend my time. And there's a few places, but one of the most important places is my own music business. And the reason is because that's my research and development. I get to be the lab rat. I'm the guinea pig. I get to try out all kinds of things. And I'm doing it because I love it. And I'm doing it because I have to. And if Savvy Musician Academy didn't exist, I'd be doing exactly what I'm doing right now with my music and making this current album and everything I have. So the way I get amazing ideas for curriculum, for courses, for coaching and all of that, that's all coming from my music business. And so I have to, have my hands dirty, being in that position, always working on my music, finding new things that work and don't work. And I always tell my students, hey, you see me doing things, doesn't mean you should just copy it because I'm experimenting and not everything I do works. So be careful about going, assuming that just because they see me doing it, that they should be doing it. That's not necessarily the case. I'm trying out all kinds of stuff. I'm experimenting. I'll come back and tell you if it worked or not. I'll tell you if it was successful or not. As an example of that, I'm planning my upcoming crowdfunding campaign that I'll be doing, which is basically a big pre-order campaign, right? Where there's going to pre-order the album and it helps me cover all the costs that went into the album, helps me recoup some of that, which is really, really, really nice to come out on the other end of that already in a positive ROI before the album's even released. Like, it can't get better than that. It really can't. And in doing that, I'm considering, this is just an example of, I don't know if it's going to work or not, of hosting the crowdfunding campaign on my Shopify store on basically a landing page that I completely control instead of using Indiegogo and Kickstarter. This could be a very bad idea. I have no idea if this is going to work, but I'm going to try it because that's what I get to do. And then you don't have to make the mistakes. So that's what I'm doing. And I am very excited for this upcoming album. It's maybe one of my favorites that I've done. It's not a metal album. It's actually, and so people might be wondering what I'm doing with that as far as branding goes. And it's actually, if you hear it, it sounds exactly like all my other stuff, just take out the metal. So it's very much on brand. It's a Christmas kind of holiday winter themed style album, but I'm making it a little more accessible to a larger audience. So that's what I'm doing with that. And I really, really like what I'm hearing so far with the mixes I'm getting. And I can't wait for everybody to hear it.
Well, Leah, I have to take advantage of what you just said because I believe that this really exemplifies why SMA takes the approach that it does in terms of, what we offer, and the courses that you've presented before are all filled with things that you have done already. You've already made the mistakes. You've already invested the time. You've already invested the money so that others don't have to. So it's proven. And that's a really important point, that this is not simply theory. You've purged everything out. You're going to find out what works, what doesn't work, and so that you can continually offer the most relevant, up-to-date information possible. In fact, this is a good plug for the Inner Circle newsletter that was just recently released, because we want to do everything that we can to keep our followers and listeners and readers up to date with everything that's happening, the constant changes in technology. So yeah, I mean, you're updating the Tom to 3.0, you're going to do some upgrades to the Elite. You're constantly making these changes and adding things like the Spotify course and what have you, because it's really, really important that everybody gets the most up-to-date information. So I'm glad to hear about your fundraising, doing things a little bit differently. Like you said, it may or may not work out, but this is how we're going to find out. And again, all to end up with the best solutions for those who are about to launch an album, right?
That's right. Yeah. No, that's just it. We put in a lot of work, and it's funny how people think things should be free all the time, and they have no idea how much goes into just figuring what's even, all the back end work of figuring out what's working, what's not working, the time, money, energy spent just to bring relevant content and information to everyone that we can trust, that's accurate. And I think that's what Savvy Musician Academy is all about, is we want to be the trustworthy resource for you whenever you're trying to build your music career. Some of you aren't even at the music business stage. You're just at the music career stage, and you want to get to the business stage. And how can you do that with terrible information? How can you do that? You can't. The wrong information will sabotage your results. You're going to go down completely the wrong path and waste your time, waste your money. So that's what we're here for, to give you that shortcut. And that's what I'm doing. I am the lab rat and I get to test all kinds of things out on myself and report those results to you guys and give some good advice and be like, guys, I tried this. Here's why this is a really bad idea. Or here's why this is a fantastic idea. And this worked out so much better than I thought. So yeah, I've already got a few podcast episodes talking about some of the things I learned, even about like my, the way I launched my album last time. I wouldn't do it again that way. I'm going to do it different this time. So I get to learn from my own experiments as well. And that's what this is all about.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, today we're talking about something really, really interesting. And I love when we do particular podcasts like this, Leah, because they begin from conversations that we've had offline. And typically when you come into a meeting all amped up, we'll just say, about something that's gotten under your crawl as of late. But out of that comes some real insight, I think. And we're going to talk about that today in relation to some of the things that people do to successfully fail at this thing. Yes, that you can successfully fail, that you are your own worst enemy. And that instead of just blaming everything around you, an entitled person, right? Leah blames everybody around them. They blame politics. They'll blame this, blame that. Never a problem with them necessarily. You're going to put the blame elsewhere. And that can happen here too. So Leah's going to share with us today some of the things that are actually kind of cool. She's shared some of them with me. I think you're really, really going to get a lot out of this. Anyway, but today in our student spotlight, we want to talk about one of the wins. And this one is from Annalise Le Chaminant. And she says, I started my first ad today. Yesterday, I had 314 likes. And as of now, about 6 hours after I turned the ad on, I have 711. I'm pretty stoked about that.
Awesome.
Cool. Good job. I did a coaching session with her about a week or so ago, and she's got good things going on. Again, like a lot of the students, extremely talented people that I love getting to. That's one of the benefits, to be honest with you, of getting to know these students, is I'm getting turned on to so many talented people. Yeah. And the other thing that I like about the elite group is the attitudes, because these people have invested something. They've got skin in the game now. It's just they're very teachable, very humble, but yet at the same time, so hardworking. And so that's been great. So good for you, Annalise. Things that people do, Leah, to ensure their failure. That's a weird approach.
Yes. Well, I just thought that it would be helpful to talk about things that, habits, mentalities, things that I've noticed over the years where there's a consistent pattern of failure or failing to succeed anyways, not getting to their goals, and things that need to be addressed because they are widespread, they are prevalent. And I also want to say as a precursor here that I'm not above these things I'm about to say, because we've all been there where once upon a time we have had a loser mentality, or we weren't getting the results we wanted, and we've had to seriously look at ourselves and go, okay, what's actually going on here? Is it that, the program I'm in that sucks? Is that why I'm not getting the results that I want? Or is it me? And I think that it's important to address this, because you're not going to see the progress that you want unless you are willing to actually look at these cold, hard truths. And so if I seem mean or harsh today, just know that I do love you all. I really do. And just brace yourselves, brace for it. I'm just going to be blunt about it because I care for you all so much. If I didn't care about you, I wouldn't even do this episode. So,
well, there's a proverb that says that, rebuke and correction to a wise person is like a cool drink of water. So if you're really wanting to bring about change in things, we've always got to be open to correction. And I think, this is probably, like you said, it's going to cover all of us.
That's right.
Except me.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think I have a number of points, and all of this actually came about just very spontaneously. And to get this going, I thought I would share, as you guys know, I do a ton of studying. I do a lot of reading. I take other courses. I'm always, learning. It's part of my daily routine. And I came across this little quiz in a completely unrelated course in a totally different market, but I thought this was hilarious because it described a lot of what we come across. And it was a little quiz that at the end of a module, they wanted you to take this thing. So here's what it said. It says, in order to get results with this course, I should, and you have to pick one, A, skim around, take reckless action and rely on my gut instinct. B, treat it like a college class and study each video in the order it is presented and carefully complete the entire course before expecting serious results. Correct. C, not watch any videos, sit in the group tagging coaches over and over until they do everything for me. Or D, watch 20 minutes of content, get mad because I'm not rich yet, throw a temper tantrum in the group, then take off my shirt, light it on fire, and swing it around while screaming curse words. So, that just cracked me up. Oh, that made me laugh.
For anybody who's been in groups, you know exactly what that means.
Yeah. And so, we've been blessed that for the most part, we have really amazing clients, but especially more, in free groups, or especially if you have like a lot of students, at some point you're going to come across stuff like this. And if you're a business owner, you've probably come across customers at one point or another who kind of do something similar to this, maybe not in a virtual setting. But the point is that there's clearly a mentality behind what people's expectations are. For example, I watch 20 minutes of content and I'm mad because I'm not rich yet. That is a real mentality. There's people who think, well, I went through this module. Why am I not seeing results yet? And they want to blame the content when the question is, well, what did you do with that content? How long did you do it for? Are you consistent? How hard did you actually try? There's a lot we can say about that, but I wanted to share that because it was really funny to me. And also because there's some truth there in what you come across. So yeah. Okay. So about things that people do to ensure failure. I thought about a couple other titles for this. Things losers do. We could be mean, but it's things that people are constantly doing habit-wise, mentality-wise, mindset-wise, that are going to ensure that you do not succeed, no matter how good your coaches are, no matter how good your course is, no matter how supported you are. These are the things that if you are doing them, you will not succeed. There's no way. You have 100% failure rate at this rate. So one is dependency on others for answers constantly. Constant dependency. So meaning you're not using your own brain not using your brain for things that are obvious, for things that Google can completely answer for you, and relying on, coaches or other students around you or other people to give you the answer. There's a partial laziness there. Like, you don't want to do the hard work. You don't want to burn through the glucose in your brain to get to those answers. And when I started out in Savvy Musician Academy and in my own music business, I had nobody to turn to for answers. Nobody gave me a single answer for anything. I had to figure it out. And there's something magical that happens when you do have to figure it out for yourself. In that moment, you also create a sense of, confidence in yourself. When you become so dependent on everybody else to constantly give you answers, you have no confidence that you can do anything.
Right.
Because if they're just constantly, that'd be like me, in homeschooling my kid, giving them every single answer they need to every math question. How is that accomplishing anything?
Right.
It's not. I'm actually debilitating their ability to solve problems on their own. So this is something we see a lot out there. So that's a big thing. So what's the answer for that? Use your damn brain.
Oh my God. It's so true. Leah, as homeschooling parents, both of us here, we are developing our children to be self-taught. That doesn't mean that they're learning everything from scratch without the help of textbooks and recorded lectures or what have you. It's all there. But the objective is to get them learning on their own. You raise a child to be mature, and mature means responsible, right? Otherwise, you have a dependent for the rest of their life. And, it's funny to have that sort of mentality develop in an adult education format. Now, I understand that your course can sometimes be challenging because you go so deep into these different aspects, and there's a lot to learn, a lot of software and all of that sort of stuff. So we understand the idea of being overwhelmed. And on the other side, we don't want to discourage good questions. However, when it turns into just asking for everything from how to turn on my computer to,
Right. Especially things that are already in the course. And this goes into my next point is not taking it. People who fail do not take advantage of the current community, the current frequently asked questions type documents that are out there that, whether you're in somebody else's course or you're in our course or whatever, most companies have frequently asked questions, and not taking advantage of those things, not using, there's this amazing feature inside of Facebook groups called a search bar. And you can look up any keyword in there and see all the past things that have already been answered. Your question, I guarantee, has already been answered 100 times. And so taking advantage of that, and then also taking advantage of, if you are in a course like our elite program where we have live coaching, not showing up to that is a sure way to fail. Not showing up live and being engaged, asking your questions then, especially if they haven't been answered yet and you went through the course material and that your question hasn't been answered, that is the place you need to be to get that, especially if you need if you have a unique situation, unique circumstance. Sometimes it can be difficult to know how to apply something to you, and that's where you should be. So we don't want to discourage good questions. We don't want to discourage people from getting help. Absolutely not. It's more the people who have become, it's a mentality where they are dependent on everybody to do something for them. And the very simple, obvious things that have already been answered, they've already been addressed 100 times. They're not taking advantage of those things. And that mentality, if you just look at the path at where that leads, do I see that kind of person making 10 grand a month with their music? No, I don't. You have to have a bootstrap mentality. You have to have the mentality that nothing will get in my way. No tech problem is going to get in my way. No, Facebook pixel issue is going to get in my, I'm going to figure it out no matter what. And I would say those people are the ones that are going to make $10,000 a month with their music. So that's why I need to bring this up.
And I think what also happens, and we posted this in the elite group recently, about all questions are ultimately important, right? It's just how you get those questions answered. And what it shows sometimes is when you see the same students, for example, asking the same sorts of questions on an ongoing basis, you realize they're not necessarily thinking about the most important questions, which is going to be about how can I sell my music, in the most cost-effective way? What's the best way for me to sell my music? So even though there's so many things in the, Savvy Musician courses that are technical, software oriented, you got to learn about copyright, all of that stuff. It's still going to come down to the simple thing of, who is your target audience and who do you need to market to and what do you need to say and what do you need to offer? And those are things that are not necessarily technical. Those things are about understanding who you are, what your genre is, what your niche is, who your target audience is, and really soaking your head in that culture. I wish sometimes the students spent more time studying their respective listener and the culture involved, because that would answer so many things for them.
Yes, absolutely. Another one is bad daily habits. So people who they say, I want to build an online music career. I want to make $2,000-$3,000 a month with my music. I want to be able to live off of my music and quit my day job. And yet they're spending 3-4 hours a day watching TV, playing video games, drinking, out with their friends, doing this, that, and the other thing. They have absolutely no concept of what sacrifice means. No concept at all. And if they saw, people want to know how I do it all and how I don't do it all. That's the whole point. I don't do it all. I sacrifice very much in order to do what I do, because unless you are willing to give up some of those things, and I'm talking to myself here too. Like, I've decided I'm going to be doing a lot more reading than I have been. That's one thing that I've dropped, is reading physical books. So I'm talking to myself here too. But if you are not at the income level you want to be, I guarantee you, if you were to cut out all that, how many hours per day watching TV, even if it's 1 hour and you watch 1 hour a day of whatever show, Netflix, 7 days a week, that's 7 hours that you could have put into building your online career. If I took that 7 hours, I guarantee you, I would have 5,000 more people on my list by the end of that week. If I took those hours out of your schedule and put them in my schedule, I would probably make an extra $5,000 in that time, because I know what to do with it and I make sure that I'm productive with that time. So, people who say that they're serious aren't actually that serious, because they're not willing to give it up. So I think you need to pick and choose. Would you rather watch TV and play video games and drink with your friends, or would you rather build a successful music business? You can't do both. That's not going to happen. You will not get off the ground. So you need to examine your daily habits. And I'm as spontaneous as they come out there. Don't think for a second that it's easy for Leah. She runs Savvy Musician Academy. She does this, that, and the other thing. And she's really disciplined. I'm not. I have to work very, very hard to be disciplined. I am as artsy fartsy as they get. I don't like schedules. I don't like routine. I like to wake up and decide what I feel like doing. That's my nature. And I have to dial that. I have to reel that in. I have to rein it in and cut out those things that are not going to make me money. So I want you to, if you get one takeaway from here, I would say you should take a log of all your activities for like 3 days straight and just count up how many activities in your day are income producing and how many activities in your day are sucking up productivity, sucking up income. And your eyes will be opened as to how much time you waste. You waste so much time that you could be 10 times further than you are right now, but you decided to, waste it away. I want to say Netflix because that's probably the biggest one, but fill in the blank with whatever it is you're doing. So I think that would be very eye-opening exercise if you did that.
Yeah, a friend of mine used to always say that the secret of your future is found in your daily routine. And like Leah said, sacrifice is the key word here, because it means giving yourself for yourself, right? If you're giving up something, that's for sure, but you're not giving up for somebody else. You're not giving it up for something that you don't really care. This is your own interest. You're giving yourself for yourself, sacrificing what you were or are in order to become what you can be. So be willing to throw yourself on that fiery altar and be consumed in the flames of personal commitment. You can do it. You can change. Like Leah said, is, she's artsy fartsy. She's, she wants to be able to just go do, but you can't. If you're going to run a successful business, these are the things you've got to do, especially at the outset. And everybody that we're talking to is at the outset, right? Takes more fuel to get the rocket off the ground. It can coast later. So let's pay our dues now.
That's right. And I'm kind of going off of that point. I would say people who fail have a very, very low tolerance for being uncomfortable or low pain tolerance. So they only want to feel good. They only want to feel comfortable. And anything that takes them outside of that, they just want to go back into that zone of comfort once again. And so again, there's going to be, and nobody told me this, but it was something I just wanted to do. And I've said this in past episodes where people have heard me say, my current discomfort is irrelevant. And that has to become your motto, that it's going to be uncomfortable to spend so much time studying. It's going to be uncomfortable to take risks. It's going to be uncomfortable to put yourself out there and try and build a fan base and build an email list and do Facebook ads. None of it feels good. There are things that you need to do in order to get to that end goal. So people who fail, who have a habit of failing, they don't want to cause themselves discomfort.
Yeah, I like to say when your discomfort is comfortable enough, that's when you'll settle. And it's very easy for people to get to. And it's funny to have somebody who has a passion, Leah, for music, and because of the amount of work that may be involved in getting things underway, that they will literally sign a contract with mediocrity, settle for where they are, because even though it's uncomfortable to be there and not have their dream, it's still comfortable enough for them to tolerate. So they're willing to tolerate the fact that they put their dream on hold or settle for where it is right now, knowing they could have been 10 times further down the road, 10 times more of the output. They have as much capacity as anybody else does. And don't sign that contract with mediocrity. Don't do that.
That's right. Another one to ensure failure is basically having your foot half in and half out the door whenever you are, in a program or you're trying to learn something. Again, this is a commitment issue. You're not all in. You're not fully committed. You haven't dove into the water. You're just kind of dangling your toes in there. You're guaranteed to fail. You cannot approach any of this stuff with a half-ass mentality. If you do, just expect to fail. Expect to not succeed ever. It's guaranteed you're going to fail. When I say go all in, I mean, this, I face these things. I mean, I'm all in all the time, but like, for example, my upcoming crowdfunding campaign, it's scary right before you go to launch it. It's like, whew, it's like, there's a switch that I have to flip again, where it's just like, this is do or die. It's like, I'm going to raise this amount and I got to go all in. And so it's going to take up a lot of my time. And don't think for a second that when I go to launch something like that, for example, I just launch it and then it all happens all by itself. No, I'm working it. I'm earning every single dollar that comes in. I'm working it as though none of it's going to come in on its own. That's how I approach it. I don't think for a second that any of it's going to happen. Like I'm just going to push a button and then it's all going to come to me because, I built this fan base. I don't approach it like that. It's like, no, I like to approach things as though nothing is guaranteed at all. And that, pretend like nobody's going to contribute. What would I do? And then I continue to work it until I can squeeze out every last drop and people are totally sick of me, and they never are, but that's how I approach it. So when I say all in, I mean, you need to work it. You need to actually try. And that's the other thing. I think people don't actually try very hard. They think that they do, but they don't. It's just like someone who went for a walk around the block saying that I did such a hard workout. No, you didn't. You did whatever, no, you didn't. That's not a difficult workout. Like that's how I think most people are viewing like what I'm doing. It's like, oh, it's so much work that I would have to actually learn all of this. And that's, it's not that you have to, you get to learn all of this. And the fact that that there is an internet is amazing. The fact that you no longer need to go through a label or executives for anybody to hear your music, that is amazing. The fact that you get to actually control all of what happens or doesn't happen, that's amazing. You get to do this. And if you have that mentality of, I have to do this and it's so much work, guaranteed failure.
Yep.
I guarantee you will never make any money.
No. I often tell people, how hard do I work? Like, it all depends on me. That's how hard I work, because it does. And yes, there's resources. Yes, there's help. But ladies and gentlemen, you are not going to get anywhere without the sweat equity. I know work is another 4-letter word, but you're designed for it.
Exactly.
You wouldn't. On the other side of all of this struggle, the effort that it's going to take to create your dream is a stronger, better version of you. One that doesn't have regret, one that feels satisfied because you can pat yourself on the back. You can high five yourself that you did this. You did this. And it got to be better than just settling for where you are just because of something like work.
Yeah, exactly. And on that note, let's go into the next one here. I think that we've all probably done this, but I want to really drill this in, that this will cause failure. And that is skipping through content. And I'm talking about, say, in a course situation, in a course setting, skipping through the content and skipping over to what you think applies to you. There's so many things that are said and taught in these other lessons that you think, I'm past that, that are, they're little nuances, they're details of things that matter greatly. As they say, small hinges swing big doors. And some of these small little tips, these little principles, these little instructions make or break what you're doing. And if you think, I already know that, I'm past that, I'm more advanced, and you're skipping over to the parts that you think apply, I guarantee you, you are missing it. And there's probably some huge things that could be so much better for you, but they aren't, because you just skipped right over it. And then you want to ask questions about it later in the groups and stuff. It's like, well, did you actually go and watch it? And I will say another funny thing is when people watch videos and they say they watched it and then they ask a question about that was totally answered in that video. And it's like, did you watch that? Yeah, I watched it and it wasn't answered. And then you like go to that exact spot and like, yeah, it's right there. So I don't know what happens in people's brains where there's selective hearing going on, or I'm not sure what happens there, but that's a sure way to fail as well. And so not paying attention, thinking you're above it and then not paying attention when you are consuming it. Like maybe you got your phone on beside you. Maybe you're browsing around on the internet while you're going through it. I guarantee you are not taking in the content and you are not absorbing it if you are multitasking. So that's another huge problem. I mean, I understand like we have a major attention deficit problem right now with social media. And I struggle with this too. Context switching. It's like I'm trying to listen to something and do something else and do something else. And then my phone is dinging and people are messaging me and I'm trying to listen to a podcast at the same time. Like your brain is not designed to function that way and take in information in that fashion. It can't process it. You can only do one thing at a time successfully. So yeah, I'm kind of killing a few birds with one stone there. Skipping through content, you're skipping right over stuff that could completely change your music business. And then context switching, ADD situation, multitasking, and you're not absorbing even what you are going through. So
I'm willing to bet, Leah, that besides not finishing a course, that's probably a big thing. Like a lot of people are trying to kill two birds with one stone in the sense of multitasking and thinking that by listening to it, not, for example, watching one of your modules where you're whiteboarding things and bullet points and whatnot, seeing it as well as hearing it, that sort of stuff, then there's not the focus, there's not the attention, and there's just way too much at stake for you to, a professional sports team would never allow its players to do that. You have to learn everything. And if you're going to invest in a course or some sort of self-education program, then man, by all means, devote yourself to it. So It's a battle, like you said. It's something that we all face. When you were saying that, your phone going off and this going off and you're trying to listen, I know exactly what you're talking about. It is. It's a very tough thing, but and you consider the price of what's at stake.
Yeah,
we can do it.
Totally. Yeah, I had a couple other thoughts occur to me as you were saying that, but I think along those lines, another one would be straying from the curriculum itself. If you're going through a program, we have a lot of programs, but if you're going through something, one great way to fail is to dilute what you're learning and confuse yourself with alternate sources of information. So when you're going through a course and then you're also doing YouTube and you're in other Facebook groups and you're going through another course and you're just hop, skipping, jumping all over the place, I guarantee you this person is broke and they're not making any money and they're not going to. They can't focus. They can't actually commit to one program. And that's the worst thing you could do. It does not help you get to your end goal. So the lack of focus there is really going to inhibit your results. So don't stray from the curriculum. If you're going through a program, commit, go all the way through it. Block out everything else. I guarantee you will get so much better results. The program isn't the problem. You're the problem.
Yeah. An old friend of mine used to say, people fail because of broken focus. And like we have said before, I know I've said this, that you could probably do very well with half the stuff that you teach, Leah. Just if you just understood the basics and you got the important aspects about culture and targeting and niche and all that good stuff, you could probably do, go further than people who know everything there is to know, simply because you're willing to stay focused and do the work and the follow through. It's always a failure, Leah, in fundamentals. It's not because you don't know a particular new secret. There's no secret here. It's all fundamentals, and either fail in them or the failure is because you didn't consistently apply them. And so again, it leads to you being dependent upon others, playing the blame game, blame the course, blame other people, blame your background, all these other things, blame the economy, everything. You're going to blame everything else. Simply, but you're going to find that your problems were basic: laziness, procrastination, lack of focus, not listening, skipping through courses, skipping through the modules of the course, what have you.
Exactly. My last couple ones here, way to ensure that you're going to fail, is continue to be skeptical. Skeptical of yourself, skeptical that it's not going to work for you. It's not going to work for me. Skeptical of your coaches, mentors, people around you. Skeptical that people like us, that we actually want to help you. Skepticism is not your friend when you're trying to make money, especially in the music industry. It's not going to help you. Now, I would be skeptical of contracts. Like if someone's like throwing, there's a place here for that. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about your educational journey to success. That's what we're talking about in this frame. So by all means, continue to be skeptical, but also continue to be broke. I think there's going to be there's something goes hand in hand there. You have to become an optimist, and in the face of failing a lot, be prepared to make all kinds of mistakes and have things fail. Now I'm talking about different kind of failure. I'm talking about the kind that you actually learn from and the kind that actually moves you forward, the kind that will eventually make you money. And you have to be willing to, put Facebook ads out there that flop and write another one, write 100 more. When you've written 200 different Facebook ads, you eventually start to figure out a few things. You eventually start to realize, oh, okay, I get this now. Don't think that you're going to put one thing out there and that it's going to work. So I'm going to add to this list, aside from continuing to be skeptical, perfectionism. That's another sure way to fail. Failure to launch is the number one reason people fail at all, is because they don't actually get anything out there. They're too stuck in their perfectionism. And I know musicians struggle with this specifically. We want everything to be perfect. We are creators of art, and the art, we want it just right. And so we end up applying that to, our funnels and email marketing. All of us, we want it to be just right. And if it's not, we kind of freak out. Sometimes we're a little bit emotional. We're a little bit control freaks in that way. But I'm telling you, you cannot be a perfectionist when it comes to getting this stuff out online. I learned very, very early in the game, it's better to put out something, just get it out there and then fix it later and make it better and tweak it later than to not get it out at all. If I'm not going to get it out at all, that means I can't learn anything. There's no data for me to gather. So perfectionism is another sure way to fail. Get it out there. Whatever it is you're working on, if it's a landing page, a Facebook ad, email, you need to send it. Yes, there's going to be a typo. Yeah, you probably forgot to put in a link somewhere. You probably spelled something wrong. I mean, trust me, I make all these mistakes every single week. Do you think anybody cares? No, at the end of the day. Now, I'm all for, high standards. I'm for excellence, but I do my best and I just make a lot of mistakes on the way and then I go and fix them. So that's it. If you can have that mentality, your chances of success are so much higher than everybody else's.
Yeah, it really is. This is something we see a lot, especially in the elite group, is they want to do right. They want to do well. But then we see that maybe after a couple of months, they're still kind of taking laps around the same mountain over and over and over again, and you just want to tell them, okay, well, let's put that aside for just a little bit and focus on running this kind of ad. Just get some brand awareness. You need data. One thing I've said to so many students in the elite group, you need data.
Yes.
You got to get data. Put something out there. I know you've got music. You got something. We can target an audience. It may not be perfect, right? But let's find out. We'll never know. We can sit here and talk about all the different scenarios and, write all of the interests and categories down and all the layering and such in the ad manager, but nothing is going to happen until you put an ad out there and see if it does well or not. So
that's right.
Let's take some action. It's just easier, so much easier to steer a car that's moving.
That's right. And speaking of data, let me give you a quick example of that. Since we're talking a little bit about my crowdfunding thing that I'm doing, I'm getting ready for it. I'm not launching it quite yet, but I am preparing. And in the process of preparing, I've done something where I sent my fans, I asked them to opt into a specific email campaign that tells me that they want to know when my campaign goes live. They wanted the information, and I'm basically asking them for a little pre-commitment that they want in on this. And of course, I've got a track record, so they know what my music sounds like. They know what they can kind of expect from me. I haven't even released a teaser yet. Nobody's even heard a clip of music except for a couple 15-second things on Instagram stories. But something I did was I sent them in the first email that they get. So they opt into this. I send them automatically a first email, and I ask them to answer 3 questions in this little Google form quiz thing, just a little survey. 3 questions. One is, are you planning on, pledging in this campaign? Yes, no, maybe. Second one was, if provided there's going to be some awesome pre-order bundles, how much of a co-creator would you like to be? And then I give dollar ranges in there. And then at the end, I just ask, are there any specific items you'd like to see? This is data collection, right? And I did not worry about perfection. I just wanted to collect some data. And you know what's so cool? I haven't even launched this campaign yet. And last time I added up, I tried to lowball. I always try to go extremely conservative on the conservative end of the spectrum. So I gave all these different dollar range options. So I added it all up on the low end of it. And I'm currently sitting somewhere around $54,000 in pre-pledged commitments conservatively before I even have launched this thing at all. That data is so invaluable to me. I mean, that gives me the confidence that I need to go forward with this and make it really amazing. So, you cannot be a perfectionist. You can't be skeptical. You can't be uncoachable. You can't have all these other things that we talked about here to get to the place where you can do things like this. That data is invaluable. And yeah, so I just wanted to share that to encourage you guys that I too think about, what if it fails? What if this doesn't work? And the solution to that is get the data and then have a positive mindset. Don't be skeptical. And you have to see the glass half full when you're doing all of this. And it's always about, what can I learn? Even if it fails and it falls on its face, what did I learn from that? That's what's going to really, really help you.
That's awesome. ladies and gentlemen, these are some very powerful keys to how to fail, how to successfully fail, how to ensure your failure. Great ways to fail, but sometimes you got to kind of address it from that standpoint for people to know, because sometimes it really is. I mean, we can learn all the great principles of success, and we can, as you said earlier, almost deceive ourselves into thinking we are working hard. We did go through the course. So you can't figure out, well, then what am I doing wrong because I followed all the keys to success, so to speak?
No, you didn't. Well, I guarantee.
And one way to find out is to talk about the steps to failure. The understanding of the things that make up for failure gives you a better understanding that you weren't necessarily following the steps to success, if that makes any sense. But Leah, what would you like to have everybody do today?
I'd like you to follow the damn course.
There it is. We'll see you guys later.
Yeah. And one last thing that will be probably my number one pet peeve. This is my last thing to say. My number one pet peeve is when people ask me a question and it reveals to me that you didn't watch the course, you didn't watch the lessons thoroughly, and you weren't paying attention, and you're skipping it and you're being lazy. Now you just want me to tell you the answer. I mean, that really gets under my skin. So it's because I've already done this for you. I've already put in all this time and effort. All I ask is that you put in the effort too. And that way we can work together. So that's pretty much what I have to say on that.
Yeah, well, ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to go a little bit further, a little bit deeper into this, and you're interested in finding out about the elite course that we talk about so many times here on the podcast, I would encourage you to book a call with the coaches today. You can go to callsma.com. That's callsma.com, and find out more about what's involved in the elite program. And you get to be in the company of the lovely Leah McHenry and learn firsthand all the wonderful things that you need to have a successful career in music. And if you'd like to do us a solid, you can review this podcast. We've got some great reviews lately from people. Thank you to all of you out here who have reviewed the podcast. But go to your favorite player, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, whatever you're listening to, and leave some stars, 5 preferably. Say good things about us. It helps us in the rankings. It helps other wonderful creative people like yourself to discover the most awesome music marketing podcast on the planet, Savvy Musician Show. But I'm a tad biased. Anyway.
Thanks for listening, everybody. And by the way, we read every single review, so thank you.
That's right. We'll see you guys next time.
This episode was sponsored by the Superfan System Elite program here at Savvy Musician Academy. If you are looking to scale your existing music business and you're looking to get into advanced digital marketing, such as email marketing, funnels, e-commerce, Facebook ads, and more, and you're looking to build a real profitable online music business, book a call with our team at www.callsma.com. We would love to speak with you for about 30 minutes and see how we can help you. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast for more episodes, and we'll see you next time.